We do want to come to America. It's just price prohibitive. Hopefully it happens, man. I just feel like it's gonna need to be someone big to help us recoup the costs, right, in merch. Because realistically, okay, we could go over there and play like 50 cap rooms, 100 cap rooms. That would be good, but we would definitely lose money. It remains to be seen. The offer's yet to come.
Ghost Code Magazine welcomes in Luke from Pupil Slicer. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Glad to be talking to Ghost Cult.
Glad to be talking with you. Big fan, longtime supporter, and fan of the band. It's been a whirlwind few years since you guys arrived in our lives. And
Right.
randomly, one of my friends just said to me, "It's like, man, what a killer band!" But every time I read that name, it makes me wince. I don't know if I'm too soft or that was the intent is to jar people and shock people awake, but it is, just at first glance when you just see the name, it's like, oh,
Yo, that's it. No, that's the effect. Like I think we've been told recently that on the Hard Law podcast that the guys there were literally saying the same thing. And they're in like God's Hate and stuff. That band are hard as fuck. So
right.
like if
Dead Bodies. Colin has the band Dead Bodies, right? We just interviewed him, or just ran our interview with him. He's a friend, so like, yeah, they're awesome, those guys. And
yeah,
I'm glad I'm not alone, or my metal loving friends are not alone in their neuroses. But what just a tremendous arc for you guys the last few years, you folks. And Blossom is amazing. I gotta tell you, I've been jamming it out. It is definitely next level. I know every band says my new album is the best album we've ever made, but clearly you have your whole life to make your first record, as the cliche goes, and then you have just a few short years to top it. And this is definitely I feel like I want to say it's an expansive record. It's definitely showcases everything the band can do, yourself included. I'm a former bass player, so I always love very inventive and good bass lines.
thanks, dude. That's very kind. I think with the bass specifically, like the production on this album, kind of gave more room just for like the bass to be heard more just in the frequency ranges and stuff. I also used the five string on this. On the last album, I used the four in C, so CGCF, which is like the new metal tuning, like right. So, but now I play on a five string in standard with a drop A rather than a B. So it's just like playing a normal bass. So like as musicians might be able to understand, like not playing in the drop tuning and stuff, you can just play a bit more freely because you're just playing in standard essentially. So yeah, that made quite a difference actually. And the guys you used are playing in A two. I think they're not using seven strings, but they're in A. So maybe seven strings on the guitars next time to complete, get some Ibby sevens, complete the full transformation into corn.
Hey, you know what? I just saw Corn at that new metal festival in Las Vegas, and they were amazing. And 27, 28 years later, that music still holds up tremendously.
Dude, like the obviously Fieldy's not playing with them at the moment. I hope he gets better and does come back. I think he's playing is the bass player from Suicidal Tendencies.
Raw Diaz, yeah, it's my buddy. Yeah, he's incredible. We're big fans, and he killed it. They're yeah, I miss Fieldy as well. I was a huge Fieldy fan. I definitely had many band. There's many band photos of me out there doing like the hunched over, very wet bass,
Oh,
rhythmic,
you?
whackety
Yes.
thwackety stuff. But yeah, he definitely innovated the style for sure.
Bro, if you're connected up to him, just let him know that I'm good for it. I am good for that shit. I am good to come and play with Corn. So just let him know that when he gets a bit tired of that, he can.
I can pass it along, probably the closest I can do. We have mutuals. So yeah, we're big fans though. And yeah, man, there's some tremendous stuff on here just in general. I think it's fair to say there's some of the softest, quietest moments the band has ever produced, as well as some of the most brutal. But also, I just love the freedom. It just sounds like there's a lot of freedom in the writing between the group. And I'd love to hear about how, dial it back to the beginning of the process. How does the band come in with songs? Do you all bring your own parts in? Does Kate kind of drive the process because of the vocals and guitars? How does that work?
In terms of the creative process, like Kate being the mad genius that they are, just has like a large riff bank, and or sometimes we'll just spontaneously jam something and write it, and then that'll be kind of sometimes that's jammed out, sometimes that's just given to us, and then we'll write parts because a lot of everything, most things are tabbed. Um, which was one of my initial conditions when I joined the band, which was I'll play anything that you want, Kate, just as long as you tab it. Because you know, I like playing technical music, but my ear's not fantastic, so I kind of need the music. And then we'll kind of build it from there. Generally, like with the songs of Mirrors, we got to road test a lot of them and actually play them live and play them together and change bits and stuff. But a lot of these songs were just kind of not true products of the studio because they weren't written in the studio. Some parts were added to in the studio and enhanced, but they were kind of just bandied around before us. And from that point, uh, we had at the beginning we had a loose idea to do a sort of rough concept of a narrative in it. And Kate had certain ideas and themes that they wanted to explore. Kate was in a bit of a creative funk, so I gave Kate a big list of just random like philosophy stuff that I'd been reading, and that helped inform some of the titles. No Temple, I think, was one. Momentary Actuality is about, I think, is a Heidegger quote of Dostoevsky. And I contributed in a little bit in that way, and then it's just kind of at the whim of the creative gods, as per how Kate feels, and we certainly didn't have as much time, I don't think, as we would have liked, just because we knew that we had to strike while the iron was hot, um, and not sit on it and kind of just get the album out while people were still interested. The second album out, and we didn't want to let it die off too much, so we did push ourselves in that sense, to get out. But I'm glad that we did because we're here. And I guess with regards to the process, Lewis Johns, who was the engineer and producer of the album, he's based in Southampton in the south of the UK, down in Hampshire, at a studio called The Branch presently. He just marshaled the record out of us, like just proper general getting the best out of everyone that he could. I think as a band, like we learned that you can never be too prepared. And I think certain members of us weren't prepared enough. I don't think that'll happen again because, frankly, like someone who's professional like Lewis will punish you for it. Because if you're there spending thousands and thousands of pounds, like don't fuck around. This is serious shit. You're here to do this, right? So I think kind of that has been imparted upon us. Perhaps more, it should have been anyway, but I think it's more there in the group psyche to a greater extent than it may have been before.
Fair enough, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Do you feel like you were under some pressure after the hype and the wave of positivity on the first record and tours and stuff? Like, do you feel like there was self pressure or pressure openly talked about in any case?
Yeah, yeah, man. Like externally and internally, from ourselves, from our team, externally because people dug it. But that being said, I think what did embolden the group and Kate was the bits that we were praised for, by just people at gigs and people like yourselves, in the press and the media and stuff, were the bits that were when we weren't trying to just play Dillinger or Converge in the parts where we were actually just playing more what I guess, for want of a less wankier term, you could call authentically Slicer. So we just thought we'd pursue those parts and enhance all of that, right? So that's why you kind of get a bit more post rock and black gaze kind of stuff, but likewise the heavier stuff's a bit more heavy, like Terminal Lucidity. I think the short kind of grindy track on there is probably the closest thing to Mirrors. Because hey, well, I mean, we could have made Mirrors Part Two, and I'm sure we will. That's what we've been kind of talking about, which is like, do we keep extending the range on the next one, or do we actually just strip it right back to like nails level street hardcore napalm death kind of like basics? Maybe a bit of both. Who knows? Anyway, this isn't about the next album. We're talking about the one that's just going to come out.
All good though. I appreciate that. And again, I think when people hear this, it's gonna peel their caps back. It's amazing, top to bottom, front to back. So many things to unpack and talk about. It is interesting right now. There's just such a wealth of killer, heavy, great bands right now from the UK. I don't know what's in the water there, but something is because it's just been a run of tremendous releases across a bunch of different cool labels, including Prosthetic has had a few, and just so sick. So many sick bands right now.
We mentioned some, they're probably our mates, like
Of course, I mean, Harriot and
Ithaca.
Ithaca come to mind right off the bat, but just there's so many. Church Road Records has quite a few great bands. Rolo Tomasi is often linked to you because I think you guys came up about the same time or them right
No,
before you.
dude, no, dude. Like Rolo Tomasi are like hugely established British band. Like they just gave us the privilege of opening for them on a tour, like our first ever tour, which is very, very unexpected. Because they're kind of they're like Josh's favorite band, and I saw Rolo Tomasi support Dillinger Escape Plan. I don't know, on a couple of different occasions, but that was like 15 years ago. It's cool that you associate them as peers. But all the bands that you said are great. Death Goals are really cool. They're on Prosthetic. Church Road, like, is just full of tons of great bands, not just hardcore bands like you said, but also like straight up metal bands. Shout out to Inhuman Nature. They're great. I think they're on Church Road. They're friends with our live guitarist Alex Ben. So shout out to them and to Ben and the boys. Going Off are brilliant. They're like a hardcore band from Manchester. Celestial Sanctuary. They're like you probably really like them, I guess. Do you know them? They're like kind of
I do.
like
We reviewed that album and we glowed it up. We loved it.
dude, it's
And
fucking
we're not supposed to have favorites, and you're not supposed to have labels that it's good to have labels you trust. I'm always a preacher of, hey, if you found a home and this certain label and stable of talent resonates with you, buy everything they make because you usually won't be disappointed. And so you're not supposed to have favorites when you're a journalist, but I also think like we can't help it. You just love what you love.
I'm not saying it to be a stooge, but Prosthetic generally have put out an inordinate good amount of good music in like the last 3 or 4 years. I listened to Dawn, Dawn Raid.
Indeed.
They're like a kind of UK black metal band. I just listened to their album today on the first time on the way home from the gym. It was fucking sick. It was a real step up, like top tier UK black metal. That
Put it on next time at the gym and get those swole gains.
yeah, bro. Like always metal in the gym. I think I listened to you got a Capra flag there. I listened to them a while ago. That was good shit.
Yep, big fan. I try not to wear my hat and flag at the same time behind me, but we're also fans of them. Big fan of Tyler. Shout out to Tyler from Capra. And yeah, we'd love to get you over here to the States. That's the thing I get asked about a lot is when can we get you here to play with some of these bands? I know Rolo is coming over here now this week with Callous Cowboys.
The Dow Boys, indeed, and Pound.
Killer band. Pound is killer.
Mad, they're mad. True DIY ethic.
Mm.
I reckon they probably booked that tour for Rolo. To be honest, he's a bit prolific, that guy. And I can't remember his name. The guy who plays guitar, but yeah, cool dude, man. We've never played with them, but I think Kate has some sort of has had a relation or spoken to them or whatever. But yeah, they're fucking crazy. Anyway, but yeah, we do want to come to America. It's just price prohibitive. As I understand it, recently the American government made it like thousands of dollars more expensive to come over as a touring artist, right?
Indeed, the visas are everything is expensive. Fuel, buses are in short supply. The visa cost is prohibitive, just like I know it is over there for our bands. And Ghost Cult's a global organization. We started in Europe actually as a zine, and I ended up taking it over. But yes, we want to get you over here. Our lucky brethren in Europe has been able to bear witness live to the great band, and we want to we're jealous, to be honest.
Thanks, man. I mean, obviously, shout out to Boris for taking us on tour. They're just like the coolest, most gracious people. Love them. Huge amount of respect for them, obviously. Legends. So much rock swagger, but hopefully it happens, man. I just feel like it's gonna need to be someone big to help us recoup the costs, right, in merch. Because realistically, like, yeah, okay, we could go over there and play like 50 cap rooms, 100 cap rooms. That would be good, but we would definitely lose money. It remains to be seen. The offer's yet to come, Is the person hearing it? Is someone hearing it? now going to give us the offer? We'll find
Right.
out.
Maybe one of these big rock festivals or this group of festivals will bring you over, and then you can plot a little tour around it to fill in the gaps. And maybe that would be financially viable. We don't want you to lose money. I will also say merch cuts are the devil. And we've been
Yeah.
very adamant that they need to go away or at least be greatly reduced.
Well, maybe
I don't understand, like it's grift, it's just
we
thievery.
could just play like in a basement and just sell stuff ourselves with no cuts. Then, like Henry Rollins' Black Flag site style. Get in the van, Kate. We're not.
um
The
I would
band's
like
not.
to see them write a book. Actually, I think Kate lyric book or anything manifestos. I'm here for it. Based on this music, and I want to talk about that for a second. I'm glad you brought up Rollins. I'm glad like I think there's a real. It's important that we have a new generation of activist bands that are actually doing meaningful, stuff. The world is turning to shit in right before our eyes, or it always has been. I'm not sure which one, but it's pretty bad right now on both sides of the ocean. And I love that this band has been like front and center on a lot of things that you're passionate about, and it's not just a flag waving and chest thumping. It's actual real work and education. And I want to say thank you. I think it's important.
No, you're welcome, man. I got asked a similar kind of question that, well, not to what you've said, but it was to the effect of, in the band, how much of it, is kind of tokenism, to kind of help propel the band through the noise, and how much of it is real, or like, how do you balance that kind of thing, which is an interesting question. And the way I answered that, which I think is kind of applicable to what you've said as well, is that like Kate personally and the band have received like plenty of mental things that like probably Republicans and shit have written on and Trumpers and that have written on like Kate's and the band's sponsored posts or personally or whatever. And the fact that that happens thereby means that having bands like Pupil Slicer around is vital and needed, even if you're not actively being an activist, if that makes sense. Like the act of just being there and being anti-hatred, basically, which is something we try and say it shows, which is what the song "Vilified" is kind of about, really. That justifies the existence in of itself, and shows that it's required. Do you agree?
Completely. And I want to say one of the things that really impressed me was and we're going a little off topic, but the compilation the band was part of last fall, the Black Metal Rainbows compilation,
Oh
was
yeah,
really important. That collection of bands from both mega legends to the smallest, newest band on the scene across a lot of genres, but mostly heavy. I think it was really important and it was really great. And it was great to see you be a part of it.
thanks, man. That stuff's vital, and I guess just as an example, Roadburn is probably the festival that I've seen the most, like just for starters, like actual women being playing. And a heavy festival by far. And then it's obviously very queer positive and stuff. Kate actually did a talk on that along with Liturgy and Backwash, I think, which is great, right? So there's spaces like that. I mean, obviously, you know, some corners of like black metal and death metal are very much not like that. And we would like kind of piss people like that off. But that's like just funny, really, because I love black metal and death metal too. But so someone wrote on a post to do with one of our singles. I can't remember what platform, but I think it might have been Facebook. They were like, "No, no, none of this anti-fascist metal for me, please." And it was like, so our reaction to that as a band was like, "So what is the inference? I'd like some fascist metal, you know?" So it's kind of like when people write shit like this, it's like, well, come on then, whatever.
Right,
Let's have
mind-blowing
it.
stupidity on display. And it's what we were talking offline before we started here about my carcass threads. And carcasses, I just saw them, and Jeff went on a little speech about, if you don't get it by now, you're not with us. He was like, if you've been a fan of this band and you don't understand the motivations, not just, yes, we write about, sawing people in half and all kinds of horrors, but there's a whole other side to this band that you may not get. And if you don't get it, you need to get it or get out. And I thought it was brilliant. And that whole lineup actually for that, was like they were all pretty much aligned. So I love that too for that tour here in the States. But yeah, it's a weird struggle against the stupidity of people. And it's like, they'll out themselves. They will give them enough rope. They will hang themselves and out themselves as non-allies. And we don't need you here. We don't need you as part of this scene at all. You can go fuck off, like I don't know how to say it any other way.
I
Yeah.
think that we don't need to say it in any other way at this current time, you know.
Indeed. Indeed. So yeah, it's just as we, wind this up, you guys just finished the tour. You have a bunch of huge festivals and then, obviously some open road. So hopefully there'll
So,
be some more touring announced and other things coming up for you the rest of 23.
dude, 23 is already looking busy. And I can, you know, I can only imagine what the album's going to do. We've basically got like, so 23 is booked out. So we're doing download next week. We're doing 2 shows there, one on the Wednesday, and then we're playing Festival True on Friday on the Dogtooth stage. We're playing at Mystic Festival in Poland, Gdansk, which is really cool. It's the first time we've been to Poland or really Eastern Europe, Slavic countries. So that's cool. And then we've just got Radar Festival, which is like a prog festival up in the north in London, which is kind of adjacent to the Tech Fest vibe. Periphery are playing that, and the day that we're playing Eagle playing, which is just totally crazy stuff. So I'll definitely prog out at that one because that's like my sort of stuff. Yeah, tons of stuff coming up. Arctangent. Arctangent. So we're playing the warm-up day this time. Last time we literally played right at the end of the festival. So it meant I had to be well behaved to the whole festival. This time, not so much. And Enslaved are playing, and they cancelled last year. They're one of my favourite bands, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. Our publicist kind of knows them through Roadburn, I think. So I'm going to have to do a big fanboy thing, take all my vinyls to get them signed. So, there are moments of being a tourist, but mostly we're focused on working in Pupil Slicer. We don't take any of it, any opportunities like this, platforms
Nicely,
like this.
nicely done. The global PR team and the label have done a very nice job, and I'm sure Becky can arrange that for you in Europe. We got this interview through Nikki here in the US, and shout out to her as well. And I think it just speaks to all these festival and this like wide variety of festivals speaks to the fact that the band can pretty much play with anyone, which is an amazing and rare thing these days.
It's so cool. We get put on mad different bills, like sometimes we can be put on post rock festivals. You know, I think I was a bit too mean at the post rock festival actually for the shoegaze fans. So I'll kind of consider that next time. But we can be put on at hardcore shows, death metal shows, just more generic alternative, mixed bills. It's wicked, man. Like we've supported Godflesh. Like, how's that work? But it's sick, right? I mean, even touring with Boris is kind of strange, just as a proposition. But considering that Boris are also normally a drone band, really, primarily, from what I understand, anyway. But they're playing like the heavy rock breakfast material, so that's kind of more like hardcore and rock and sounding like Motorhead and Black Flag and stuff like that, A bit of drone with a bit of doom thrown in, but dude, we're just open to it, man. Like, just be heavy and good. That's what we
Be heavy and
subscribe
good. We
to.
need that on a shirt. That goes across so many levels and so many inferences. But Luke, man, it's been tremendous talking to you. Thank you for hanging out with Ghost Cult today. Congratulations on Blossom out on Prosthetic Records this week. And just all the best to you. Be safe on the road and kill it out there at these festivals and shows. Cheers.
Thanks, man. I'll pass it on to the rest of the band. Appreciate it.
Please do. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too, man. Cheers.